Hello, my name is Ngom Gafor, and I edit Africally Speaking. With some of the world's most prominent economies, expanding markets, and a large young population, Africa is poised for global leadership. But security risks remain a threat to its progress. From Al-Shabaab attacks in Kenya to Boko Haram bombings in Nigeria and neighboring countries, terrorism is proving an increasing challenge for the continent. As its leaders seek assistance internationally, security experts David Otto, Chris Samuel, and Raphael Akazara argue that Africa's solutions lie within its borders. At the University of East London, I sat down with David Otto and Chris Samuel. My education on imaginative counter-terrorism started with an explanation of what their company, TGS, is about. The challenges are there, and one of the interesting things is that just when we are hearing the Africa Rising narrative, we're hearing that we have very promising economies. Everybody's rushing to Africa because of the resources, the human resources, natural resources, and then we have threats like these ones. Now I know that certain industries are being affected. Which are the industries that are suffering the most, and how is a company like TGS proposing to help them? So, David.
Okay. I mean, it's important, because one of the things which is very, very key to what we do is, as I said, is ensuring that Africa is developed. But for Africa to be able to be developed, you have to have a continent which is free of violence, especially violence of the nature that is going on now. And the only way that you can attract global investment is by ensuring that all the multinational companies that if you're talking about the oil and gas industry, which is actually one of the key industries in Nigeria, for example. And that's also coming up in places like Cameroon, and South Africa is also one of them that has very powerful natural resources. Kenya is one of them which is more influenced by their tourism. So what we've done as an organization is to try and speak to all these companies and give them kind of a risk assessment of what is going on in Africa at the moment. At the moment, as my colleagues say, there is no framework in Africa. And because there is no framework, we are trying our very best to make sure that all organizations that go to Africa should be able to have a very, very powerful risk analysis, risk assessment of the groundwork, knowing that, okay, if we're going to Nigeria, this is the risks that we're going to face. These are some of the measures that we're going to take into place. Because without those measures, it will be difficult for them to operate a business, at the very in a long-term period. Yeah, but true. Right now, at the moment, it's very difficult for Africans because we do not have the kind of security and the kind of framework which is needed. Terrorism is a new thing for most African governments. Yeah. It's also a new thing for the West. So most multinational companies, talking about oil and gas companies, as I said earlier on, are very, very worried about going to invest in Africa. But they are doing so. But once the framework has been established, as one of the things which we've always spoken about, once that framework has been established, Africa is a very, very viable economy. In the next 50 years, I think we will be the top in the world in terms of...
I said that I was privy when I was in Brunei studying my MA program to study the intelligence analysis, the 50 years focused for Africa. And Nigeria was highlighted as one of the promising countries. Yeah. And what they focused in that report was that scarcity of resources is going to be the major concern, a major source of conflict in the next 30 to 50 years. And they realized that in that report that almost 80% of those resources are in Nigeria alone. Oh. So it makes sense for the government now, privy to maybe that kind of report, to start putting necessary framework in place. Because what you want to know is people, there's going to be influx of different people to Nigeria, but in what capacity? Is it going to be it's going to be at any benefit to the federal government or at the detriment to to the federal government.
Exactly.
You will not know until you have a necessary framework in place to know who comes into the country and for what purpose.
Absolutely.
You know, so framework is still
It's everything.
Is still everything.
Yeah. So.
Silale samba